This is BJJ Hood, tapping into Jiu Jitsu lives on and off the mats.
Hello, we are back. This is the BJJ Hood podcast. I'm Babi, your host.
And Shae, your co-host.
We're here to share inspirational stories about women in Jiu Jitsu and how the martial art changed their lives. Today, episode 31st, we're talking with Amanda Bruse. She's a black belt in Jiu Jitsu, has been training for over 7 years, and she trains today at Atos in San Diego, actually since 2018. So it's been a long time that she has been there. She moved there when she was a purple belt, and has a lot of good accomplishments on her career. She won purple belt worlds gold. Her first year as a black belt, she also got second place on Worlds Nogi. So we're going to talk to her a lot about her accomplishments today and a lot of also her personal life and how she prepares for all those competitions. Amanda, welcome to the BJJ Hood podcast. Thanks so much for taking your time and talking to us today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm super excited to be here.
Awesome. So we always like to ask, how did you start jiu-jitsu and why you did that?
I started jiu-jitsu when I was 16 years old. I was going through a hard time. I had a lot of anxiety as a teenager, as most of us do. So I was kind of looking for something to kind of bring me out of my shell. I was very shy. So I was lifting weights. I was kind of in the gym. I was doing powerlifting type stuff. And that was good for a while. And then one day my dad was just like, you should go try jiu-jitsu. He had done Krav Maga, which is that striking kind of thing, but he had someone teach him jiu-jitsu in that. And so he knew of it, and he just randomly was like, that might be good for you. You should go try that. So I just went and I tried out my first class at a local school in New York. And the first time I went, I was just like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this every single day if possible. So that's kind of the reason I got into it, was just being an anxious teenager, and then I kind of just fell in love with the actual sport, and then eventually competing and stuff.
That's awesome that you had that mindset of falling in love, because a lot of people, at least from what we see coming into the gym, and they're really shy, they get really anxious also about being in so much close contact with somebody else, people that they don't know. Sometimes it's the sweating part. Did that ever bother you, or when you got there you were I know what I expecting already, I know what's gonna happen, and I kind of prepared?
Yeah, no, I was terrified the whole time. And it's funny because if you know me, I love Nogi way, I'm a huge Nogi person. I train in the gi, but I love Nogi. But when I started, I hated Nogi because one, I had to wear a rash guard. It was all tight. I felt really self-conscious. And then I was at a school that was majority men. And so I felt so weird being so close to everyone. Everyone's sweating on me. It's gross. I didn't love it, but it was so interesting to me, and it was so cool to be learning something so new that I kind of got over that. And everyone also was super nice. Once you're in, especially if you are in a smaller local gym, it's a big family there. Everyone kind of talks crap to each other, but they're super welcoming, and especially if you're young and new and coming in, everyone's trying to build you up. So I kind of was able to get over it just by everyone kind of being super welcoming. But yeah, at first, ew, disgusting.
Yeah, that's what most people think when sometimes they're even watching. And it's funny because there is the story of this woman at our gym. She's a brown belt now, but she always talks about it, that her husband was doing jiu-jitsu, and he was like, you should do it. And she was like, maybe I'll come and watch. And then the day that she came to watch, one of the guys sweat inside his mouth.
Oh,
and she was like, nope, I'm not doing that.
Honestly,
there's no way I'm starting.
Yeah, I'm actually,
but she ended up later.
Yeah, I'm lucky I didn't see it before. I just got put, I'd never seen it ever. I just went in, and then I was just oh. I think I would have had the same reaction as her. That's pretty awful.
Yeah, it's gross if you think about it. Before you're into it, it's pretty gross.
Even when you're into it, still.
Even, I think it just get used to know. Yeah, that
you just don't think about it. And then
Yeah.
you kind of avoid those really sweaty partners. you
Yeah.
know, you're like, you sweat a little bit too much for me. I'm not going to go
For
there.
sure.
Yeah. We were talking about like when we were stalking you actually on your Instagram, and we're like, she changed so much. And I don't know if it was just jujitsu or if you're just like when you started jujitsu, you were a little younger, and then you got into like adulthood, if we could say it like that. After you were in jujitsu, so I don't know if it's just for jujitsu, but like your hairstyle was completely different. I think like the way that you like kind of position yourself in the pictures,
Yes.
and you talking about like how that like being shy and that being anxious. Would you say that was just jujitsu, or it was also like a timing thing too? Like kind of everything came together.
Like, yeah, I think it was almost all jujitsu though, because like that was the thing that brought me out of my shell. Like you're talking about hair, like I had the whole like emo phases. I was super shy. I did not like talking to people. I was just kind of like in that like emo like kind of, yeah, I was just
Like a
like a mess,
shell.
basically. Yeah, I was a shell, and like it was really difficult. And I think the only thing that really brought me out of that was jujitsu, because it's like I didn't come out of my shell in school. I didn't come out of my shell in like other social avenues. Even like when I got into college, like I just kind of hid from everyone and I just did my thing. But jujitsu was the thing that was always pushing me to like have to come out of my shell. Especially with competing, and then I had to do interviews, and then people started knowing who I was and wanting to talk to me, and I was like, oh, okay, now I have to like actually work on this stuff. So I think honestly it was like majority jiu-jitsu.
What do you think
That's
that
amazing.
has in jujitsu like that helps so much? Because we are always talking about like the mental benefits and what jujitsu can help you, not just on the mats, but pretty much more outside of it. And with your experience, like, why do you think that jujitsu brings that out on people?
I think there's multiple reasons. I think jiu-jitsu is pretty unique. I think one aspect is the community that's very unique in jiu-jitsu. Like it's an individual sport, but it's not really an individual sport. And I find that the people that I've met and come in contact with through jiu-jitsu, we all have like some kind of thing that we can level on and that we can connect through, whether even if it's just the love for jiu-jitsu, like that's enough to create an environment where people are supportive and people are helpful and care about each other's journey. And it's a sport that kind of teaches you to give outwardly. I mean, even just like teaching and things like that. And I think that's something that's very important for personal growth. And then I think if you are a competitor, that entire aspect alone is like an extremely transformational kind of thing to go through. Pushing yourself through something that's extremely uncomfortable and just going through those barriers over and over and over and over. Like I find that doing just that act, it just naturally translates to like other parts of your life and other parts of your personality.
Yeah.
It's like consistently hitting the wall like over and over and over
Like,
again
oh, I don't
until
want to
you're
do that.
like,
I don't want to do that. Still gonna do it. Still gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's like pushing yourself over that like line that you create for yourself.
For sure,
right?
yeah.
When did you start competing? Like how did that came to you?
Well, it was not my decision. That's for sure. I started competing. I'm trying to think about like my first tournament. It was probably 6 months in or something, like as a white belt. And my coach was just like, "Hey, you're like pretty good. Like now you have to compete." And I was like, "No, like I don't want to do that." Yeah, so I hated it with all of my heart, but I did it and it went well. And then unfortunately that meant that he kept pushing me and kept telling me to do it. And so I started competing, 6 months in, and I would do tournaments every couple months. Not as many as I wish I would have done now, but it was always something that was like very hard and anxiety provoking for me, coming up through the ranks. So I think I did it like a medium amount, if that makes sense.
And do you think that changed for you right now? Like you hated before competing and you're an avid competitor, like you're great at competition. How did that change for you actually is the question. Like, do you think you did something different? Like, did you work on yourself mentally?
Yeah.
Do you think just going through the experiences helped you like, to get where you are today? Or no, maybe today you were still like super anxious before a competition. Like, how did that change for you over the years?
No, and I definitely still have, we all have like anxiety and feelings around competition. It's just, I think, finding a way to make it work for you and kind of changing the mindset that you have and being able to kind of translate those thoughts into something a little more positive. I think the number one thing is just doing it. Like the only so we talk about like affirmations a lot and like trying to make ourselves more positive and stuff, but the only real way to convince yourself of those positive things is to like give real proof. And so in order to do that, you have to like actually go compete and like show yourself that like, hey, like I can actually do this. So a combination of like working on mental work and like affirmations and journaling and trying to rewire your brain, but actually also going and doing the competition has just so competing more has really helped me a lot. And I think the biggest change was after I like won my first world title. I was like, oh, okay, like I'm actually like not that bad at this. Like I can actually do this. So I
Yeah.
think
You
that
kind
kind
of
of
needed that proof
I needed that proof
from
in a
yourself.
way, for sure. And once I had that, I was like, okay, like this isn't in my head. I'm actually pretty good at this. I can like go forward and really try to get better.
If you didn't have your professor like pushing you to do those tournaments, do you think you would be where you are today?
Oh, no way. Like I would have never competed. I would have just been in my comfort zone and kind of just like
Yeah.
probably just trained, and just gone into the gym. I needed that. I needed people around me to like really push me because I was so
Mhm.
walled off. Like I never would have done it myself.
I
It's
think that's like, oh, go, Bab.
sorry, I was just gonna say that like I think I'm more outgoing, and I think
Mhm.
Shae would be more like you on that sense of like being a little bit more closed, and it could be a question for you too. It's like, when is the limit to push, like being a
Mm.
professor, for example? I'm starting to coach more. I'm a brown belt now, and getting closer to get to my black belt, and like being able to coach and help more. What is like the limit where you push that person? I was even talking to a parent last night, pushing like the kids especially, or like the teenagers, because I think adults, they understand a little better, and it's a little different after you get to that point, but we still have to sometimes push them. But especially for kids and teenagers, like what is that limit where it's good, that push it's good and they need that, and where it's like, no, that's the boundary, like right here you're just going over it, and you're just like annoying the person, and they already told you they don't want to do it, and like you shouldn't push it anymore.
Mhm. Yeah, that's actually an interesting question. And so like I have like a psychology degree, so I'm always thinking about this in like a very like therapy way. I think it has to depend on the person. I think it's kind of up to the coach to try to like tailor it to each person and like really get to know a person, because I think you can't like know how much to push someone unless you really know them. Like unless you've known them for a while and you kind of know how they react to certain situations, if you've seen them under stress and things like that. Because there's definitely, I was saying stuff like, I don't want to do this, like I don't want to go compete, I just want to like train, blah blah blah, but I still needed someone to like keep hammering on it. So I think it's very up to the individual, but I do think it's okay to push people to compete at least once and kind of like see if they can go through something like that, and then base all future things off of like how that goes and how they kind of reacted to it. Because a lot of people, once they get through that anxiety and they see that they did something, they're a lot more open to doing it again. But it's that like
Yeah.
initial thing where people need that push through that might be like more uncomfortable than they would like.
You wanted
I
to say
must
something?
be like, no, I was just thinking about myself. I must be like an anomaly, because like no matter how many times I do it, it does not get easier.
No, and
Oh, it doesn't.
listen, I have the same thing. I've just gotten better at like rewiring it and like better at dealing with it because I'm used to how it feels now. But I'm never like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
like I'm like so good now. Like
Yeah, I think that's like for most people, because I compete a lot. Like
yeah,
the last 2 years, last year and this year, I haven't competed like consistently, like every
yeah.
2-3 months. But I think it's the same. Like you just get used. You know how it's gonna feel, and you're just
Mhm,
like, I know it's gonna come. I'm not gonna do anything about it. Like I can't
mhm.
really stress too much about it. Like it's not gonna change anything if I just stress over
Yeah.
it. So I'll just like try to live my life and kind of go through the emotions as they come, but there's not much you can do. And I think it's actually good that you feel like that. It means that you care. It
For
means
sure.
that you're like wanting to be better and wanting to like do something about it. I think if you don't care at all, like if you have no feelings at all, like what's the point to even do this? Like if
For
it doesn't
sure.
move you, right?
And there's like that there's like research about athletes' peak performance, and like there's a middle ground where like it's like a bell curve. Like you can't be too understimulated and you can't be too overstimulated. But there's somewhere in the middle where you're actually gonna like perform your best, and it comes with a little bit of anxiety. It's not like I can't just walk in and be totally calm and do really well. I need a little bit of like that feeling, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of
And I
pumps
think
your
the why too, right? You have to have a why. I think maybe that's what I haven't found is the why.
Yeah.
Like you, Babi, I think you have your why. Amanda, I'm sure you have your why with all your competitions. Like I just don't have a why.
And it could
You
be
know,
something so
the
simple though, you
dedication to
know?
it.
Like it could literally just be like I want to be able to like see this particular improvement each time I compete, and it's just like that's all I want is I just want to see myself improve in this area, you know, compete in this type of way and whatever. It could just be like little goals, I think. But it does help to have like something that you feel motivated towards. I think it could be something simple. I think it depends on the person. Like it could be like a tiny little thing. Like, oh, I want to be able to implement like my favorite moves in competition and like make a cool highlight reel, or like I want to see myself be more confident each time I compete, and that's it. Like it could be something small or it could be something big, but I think it's just like, you know, you got to connect with something, or you could just do it for the love of it. Like, hey, my goal is to learn to actually just enjoy the actual act. Which is hard.
Calm down. Calm down.
Anyway, I was like, that came out of my mouth. I was like, that would not be me though. When I'm winning, yeah. Like when I'm like dominating, I'm like, ooh, this is fun. But when it's hard,
I was
like
gonna
hard
say,
match, I'm like, ooh.
yeah.
You're talking to somebody that has to convince themselves to like literally go out of the house and like interact with people.
Girl,
like it's that bad.
As you were talking about it, I was thinking like, what is my why? Like, why do I compete? And I think for me, it's I think for me, it's like the more simple side of it. It's just like, I like jiu-jitsu so much and I like to have challenges. And I feel that it's like when I have a competition or when I'm thinking about maybe in the future I'll have a competition, I think I work harder and I like try more and I want to learn more. And that makes me way more excited to come to jiu-jitsu than just coming like as a hobby, let's say like that. So I think that's why I do it. And I love like the feeling after it. Even when I lose, I'm like, it feels good to be here. Like if I go to a competition just to watch, for example, like my husband's a black belt. Sometimes he goes and compete and I don't. I feel so bad to be there and not be competing too, you know? So I'm like, I think I do because of that. It's fun. It's stressful, but it's good when you're done. And I like that feeling of like being to accomplish something. I put that as a goal. I did it. Perfect. It doesn't matter what happened there.
Yeah.
It actually matters because then if I did something dumb or if I didn't do something the way that I wanted to, I can go back to the gym and like, okay, now I know I have to work on this because it's not working at all. And I wanted to ask you, like, I don't know if you have like a big why, but what would be your why for competing?
Like, I personally feel like I compete just to prove myself wrong. Like, as someone who's had a lot of anxiety and a lot of self-doubt and a lot of, like, just not believing in myself, it's kind of like a screw you to my anxiety, like, every single time I compete. So part of the reason is just to, like, prove myself wrong and to, like, show myself that I can do these things, that little voice in my head is telling me, like, no, you can't, like, that's ridiculous, you can't do this. So that's part of it. And then another part of it is just like, you know, I want to show people that, you know, you can do anything that you want. You can do everything. You can go to school, you can train, you can compete, you can have anxiety and still be in the world championships. You can do it all, right? I just, you know, and people like, I never really thought about like competing and then trying to like inspire people, but like I've had little girls come up to me at autos who like love me, and it's like so cute, and like I just want to keep doing that so that they have someone that they can look up to and things like that. And that kind of motivated me so much when like that kind of stuff started happening because it was very special to me. So kind of those reasons.
Yeah, it's great for them, especially not just the little girls, even like the older girls probably look up at you and be like,
yeah.
Even with everything that you had, like you were talking about school, I'm sure that was pretty hard to do together, but like being able to compete and achieve like good results while you're doing all of that, that's inspiring. Even if it wasn't your main goal, it's still like really cool to watch.
A lot of people I've known like give up before they even try. They're like, well, I'm going to school, so I can't do this. I'm like, well, why not? Like, who said you can't just do both? Like, you just have to work hard and work smart, and that you can totally do both things. So I don't want to see people try to limit themselves. If there's multiple things you want to go after, like figure out a way to go after all of them.
Yeah. Well, you coach, you go to school, you work, and you have your own.
I had a little business too.
Your business, your boutique, right?
Yeah.
Like you got a lot.
I do a lot of stuff. I've always been like that. My brain goes 1,000 miles an hour. There's always so many things I want to try and work on. And I'm 23, so I feel like this is the time to just like try everything and figure it out. And I love to be busy. Like I love being busy. And for me though, like school and jiu-jitsu was interesting because I felt like whenever I was doing one of them, I was getting a break from the other one. So like it wasn't as tiring as you would think. Like school was mentally tiring and jiu-jitsu was physically tiring. And so like they kind of worked really well together.
Complemented each other. Yeah.
And I learned how to study and be really organized. So like I think it helped.
Yeah. And it helps you in your whole life, I think, because if you know how to build that structure for working jiu-jitsu and going to school as you get older and you have your own business now, you can work on structures where you can have your time for that, you can have your time for yourself, you can still have your time for your training or whatever you want to accomplish. You're gonna know how to like organize yourself and
for sure. I think time management is like one of the most important skills that you can learn. And I had to have that down. So I think that was very, very helpful just for like anything that I do in my life is to like learn how to be organized.
Yeah. I need to learn that. I'm really bad.
It's hard. No, it's a very hard skill. It's very hard. But I feel like once you figure out your system, you're good.
Yeah.
Well, with this, I mean, I got a lot going on, but with this podcast, Babi, I don't know if you know this. I haven't said this, but this is the first time in my life since I was in college that I literally have like a planner that I open up and I have everything written down because, and then on top of my work calendar, right? You know, like I have both that I'm juggling right now, but there's just no way that I'm able to meet all of my deadlines and meetings without having it. I'm lost. Every day I'm looking at like, okay, what do I got to do? And I'm like, I feel like I'm back in college again, you know, because it was like all your classes and all your homework and all your papers due. And you know what I mean? Like,
I don't know how people survive without planners though. Like, I don't know how people just get everything done without a planner. I'm like, that's gone from my brain after 2 minutes. Like it has to be written down and organized or I'm not doing it.
I think that's the thing. People just don't do it because
that's very true.
I have a planner and it's in my bag, but I didn't learn to open it every morning, for example, or every night to see what I have the next day. So what I'm trying to do now is like put it on my phone and I just have my calendar on my phone. So like for all the podcast interviews, I have a little calendar for that with me and Shae where we can just like add stuff, move stuff around, and we can always look at that, like my personal appointments or like work schedule or whatever I have to do. I have to put everything in there. If I don't put it in there, and I put like a reminder, so I always do a reminder like 1 day before, 2 days before, depending on what it is. Like if I don't do that, I won't remember.
3 alarms for this. I had 3. It was like 2 days ago, 1 day ago, 2 hours before.
That's me.
I still almost forgot. Like,
oh my.
No, I didn't.
Don't worry. We had your phone. We would be calling you like, girl, jump in right now.
No, I'm just kidding. It was on the calendar.
So Amanda, you were saying before you lived in New York. Why did you move to San Diego? Was it for college or it was because of jiu-jitsu?
No. So yeah, I've lived in like 7 different states, but I was in New York for about...
Oh, wow.
I know. Tell me about it. Like 4 years I was living in New York. And then my dad actually, so he started a biotech company like a small company in New York, and then they moved the company out here to San Diego. And I had visited the summer before to do Worlds, and I had visited Atos, and I was like, oh my God, I love this place. That would be crazy if one day I could train here, whatever, whatever. 1 year later, and he got, you know, that opportunity to move here, and he literally moved 15 minutes from Atos, and he was like, do you want to come to California with me? I was like, yeah, it's kind of been on my vision board, like so yeah, I just like got the opportunity to move out 15 minutes from Atos, and I took it, and I just switched colleges. I'd only been in community college for like 1 semester at that point, so it wasn't really crazy. It's pretty easy, and then been here ever since.
How was
Very
that
cool.
switch for you? Because I think a lot of people are curious, like what happens at Atos, like, right? Like it's such a big place. There are so many champions from there.
Yeah.
Like, how was that transition for you?
I cried a lot. And no, it was not in a bad way. Like, I was coming from a gym that was very, well, number one, it was mostly no-gi, and it was mostly guys. So it was a lot of me just like playing bottom half guard and like trying to survive. But I'd never really trained with high level women before, like consistently. And I hadn't really trained with a lot of people who really specialized in the gi. So going there was like a total shock as far as just like the actual level, the intensity, and like how much I was learning. Like, I was so excited every day and nervous to go just because I was being overloaded with information and like seeing all these people that were like the people that I had been studying on YouTube. But everyone was super, super nice to me. And, you know, I found my place. All the girls were nice. I was going to the women's class when Angelica Galvao was running it. So it was like, I was just starstruck. And it's not as intimidating of a place as you would think. I think there's a lot of like high level gyms that kind of lose like some level of humanity and like chillness. And Atos is actually pretty welcoming and chill once you're like in it and training. So I think people have this perception of it, but it's maybe not quite as accurate as what it actually is.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear, because I think a lot of people think that of it's a Shark Tank, or maybe if you're not as good as everybody else in the room, it's like they can look at you weird or something like that. But from what you're talking, it doesn't look like that.
So
like everybody's gonna kind of welcome you.
It's interesting because it's just like, yeah, you're gonna get beat up, and they might even like purposefully beat you up, or like you might be the nail, but there's no bad feelings about it. Like, it's just the training there is like you're expected to train really hard. If people are trying to beat you up, you're expected to fight back really, really hard, and there's just no like hard feelings about it afterwards. So it's like, yeah, it's intense, but like nobody really cares. Like, we're there to train hard, and it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, I love that.
Everybody trains hard there. Like everybody, there's no like, there's
if you're doing like comm class, like if you're a competitor, if you're at like a normal like 9 a.m. or like 6:15 p.m. class, there's definitely a lot of chill training that's not like super intense. But like if you're at competition class, it's like pohada.
Is it open like for anybody? Like, let's say if you sign up today and you want to be a competitor, can anybody just go and do the competition class, or they have it like kind of separated by levels or something?
It's like, well, you can't be like a white belt and go, but if you're a visitor, you just have to go and talk to like someone who works there, or like message Galvao or something, and just let them know that you want to come, and they'll let you come in. So it's closed, but like it's not super hard to get in. They just it's packed.
But in
like,
the sense,
now,
if you, I was just gonna say, like if you're like you go in and you say, this is going to be my gym, right? And you sign up and everything. Is the competition class like open, or do you have to like try out for it? Do they have to like?
No, it's open. It's just not to like white belts. Like if you're a blue belt, you're good to go. You can just go.
That's cool. Yeah. You would think that they would have like maybe a separated class just for black belts or something like that. I don't know, or maybe the black belts don't normally train with everybody. You know, like what, like that's
it's just different because it's Atos. So like the teenage girls to me are black belts. Like we have blue and purple belt teenage girls that would beat up like any regular black belt. So like there's no point in separating, because like that's who I actually need to be training with.
Yeah, that's true. I'm scared of the teenagers more than anybody.
I'm scared of them. I'm so they scare me. Sarah Galvao? Are you kidding?
Yeah, no, she is a
crazy.
beast.
The whole team there, like Emily Leyva, like all these girls, they have like 6 teenage girls who are just like Powerpuff Girl team of like killers.
Yeah, I watch them when they're fighting or like doing super fights or even going against higher belts, and I'm like, I mean, you kind of expect that because they have been training pretty much their whole life, so they are black belts. It's just like a time thing that they can't really just be black belts as teenagers, but it is scary to watch the level and the intensity that they can go. I mean, I'm going to be 33 next month, and I'm like, I'm too old for this. Like, I have no energy at all to keep up with somebody. Even with the teenagers at my gym that are not at that level, I can't even imagine what it is like to train with somebody that is the level that they are.
Yeah, it's
they're
crazy.
fast, man.
They're so fast. And they're so strong. They came into like their strength in the last couple years, and it's like a whole different thing. Because they didn't used to be like strong, and now I'm like, now you're strong too? Like, chill. Like, calm down.
Yeah, that's awesome.
With the girls that we go against, like, we have two that are pretty, you know, they're what, 17? Babi, 16?
I think the ones that you're talking about is like one is 16, the other one's 18, probably.
Oh, 16 and 18, and they're fat. Like, I have to get myself pumped up. Like, I have to be like, okay, Shae, let's be on your A game. Okay, like, don't slip up. You know, and they're like, you know, 16 and 18. I'm here like 38 years old, like trying to match,
trying to survive,
but. Trying to survive for sure.
Trying to keep up with them. I'm like, what happened in the last 2 years, bro?
I love that. Hi, Babi here, interrupting my own podcast just to ask you for a favor. If you are liking this episode, make sure you hit that like button and the follow if you don't follow us yet. We are on your favorite podcast platforms, and we're also on YouTube with subtitles in Portuguese, so you can see our faces there. If at the end of this episode you think a friend might learn something from us today too, make sure you hit that share button. That's really, really important for us to keep getting to more people and to start bringing more people here to the podcast. If you don't follow us on social media yet, we are on Instagram and TikTok as BJJ Hood Podcast. So make sure you're following us there, leaving comments and suggestions. Amanda, you were talking about like your focus being pretty much right now in Nogi. I saw that you were signed up for Worlds next week too, and the gi. So it's like you have great accomplishments, especially in the Nogi. What are your plans, maybe for this year or for the next couple years, and competition related?
Well, my goal, like my big goal that I want is I want to get to ADCC, and I want to win ADCC. So that's my goal. I've gotten to the semis at trials twice now, so I'm trying to inch my way up there, and that's my biggest goal. This year specifically, and next year, I would love to get a Nogi world title under my belt as well. That's a huge goal for me. I would like to be just more active on the scene, like WNO and stuff like that. ADCC Opens, anything really, just be a little more active on the scene, and then, you know, train in the gi when there's a nice, good camp to do, like a Worlds camp at Autos. It's like, I can't really miss that because it's just such a good camp. There's so many phenomenal people to train with. It's good for my jiu-jitsu regardless of if gi is really something that's like my priority. But I think I always love to like push myself and try new things. So, you know, that's why I signed up for Gi Worlds and kind of did the camp for that as well. And so jiu-jitsu is jiu-jitsu, and I don't want to be, for a while I was really, really only doing no-gi, but I realized during this camp that like it still helps me to train in the gi and still kind of like learn things like from all those girls training there and everything. Like I've been learning so much about pressure that I've noticed already transferring over to no-gi. So I'm like, okay, I should do this.
Yeah.
You were saying in one of your other podcasts how like you had, you know, a bottom game because you were surrounded by, you know, men. And so one of the biggest things that you learned at Autos was your top game and pressure. I think I like, when I heard that, I was like, that's wild, you know, because you're about my stature, you know, and I think when I first started, like I had the mentality of like, I better be fast, I better be first, and I better be on top or I'm stuck. So for you to go like that whole time and not have the top game and still like it, I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, because I think I would have fell off like a long time ago.
Yeah, it's funny now that I think about it because, like, I only knew how to play defensive bottom guards, but, like, now I'm like, oh my God, no, I want to be on top. Like, this is way better. Like, this is much more, like, comfortable than just being and having to play guard the entire time.
Oh. Yeah.
No, you're right, though, about the guard thing. It's weird because I was so comfortable just like shelling up and being on the bottom all the time. Now I'm like, oh my God, why was I doing that? Like being on top is amazing. Like being able to just like put pressure and stay on top is like so much better in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you learn how to use your weight, it's fantastic what you can do. Yeah.
I think that's the biggest question I get from girls. Atos is good at that. I was just going to say that's the biggest question that I get, like rolling with girls, you know, that either have been there longer than I have, that like are in upper belts, you know, because I do have, like, I'm small, but I have a lot of pressure. I think Babi, right? Am I just
she's
making
pretty
that
strong.
right?
She's pretty strong.
Right? But like, and
yes,
girls and
yes.
then but they ask, like, how do you, it's like people don't know how to distribute their weight, like they're not aware of it, you know, and so yeah, I think when I'm on the mat, that's the biggest question, like how do you do that, like what are you doing, you know, and it's very slight micro like movements to apply that pressure. But I try to like tell my son and he's just like, yeah, whatever, mom. But yeah, I think it's huge. But even your bottom game, like some of the matches that I was watching of yours, like obviously, you know, you spend a good amount of time on the bottom, so you're able to reverse it, you know, and stay in that position and then capitalize on it. It was, you know, some of the matches that I watched, I was like, wow, that's crazy. That was a huge comeback.
Oh yeah, I had one at trials that was like this huge comeback.
Yeah. I mean, you were being smashed.
Oh yeah, I was like down by a lot of points and I looked at the clock and I was like, okay, fine. And I was like, let's just send it. And so I was like, I got a score. And then my corner was like so good because I needed neon belly points. I didn't even know. And there was like 3 seconds left and they were like, neon belly. And I was like, okay. Okay, don't yell at me.
That's one of the biggest things I think for athletes. It's like having a good coach with you that knows you, know your game, know what you can do, for you to be able to listen to them and kind of just trust what they're saying. Because that was one of the things that I had a lot of difficult in the beginning. Like my husband is my coach. He, like, we met as I was a white belt and he has been with me since the beginning. And a lot of the times in competition, he would tell me like, you have to do this. And I'm like, dude, you don't know, like I can't really do it right now. But then when I go and I watch like the video or whatever, I'm like, I think I could do it.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to follow what he was saying. Kind of like, no, that's not gonna work. But if you can listen to that and then try to apply, of course, sometimes it's not gonna happen. Like they can't see just so much. You're there and you're feeling, you know what you can do. But like being able to listen to them and kind of like following what they're telling you to do, I think it's amazing and can help you a lot, like to win competitions.
No, it's so important. I had to work on that as well. Like I used to like, I don't think I listened good enough. I just think I thought I knew better. Like I didn't have the confidence to go for a move they were saying. So I would be like, okay, that's not there. But like, if you just go for it and you listen and you know your coach, you know, knows what they're doing and you just like actually listen to what they say, most of the time you're going to have a lot better of a match. So I had to also work on just doing what I was told and just like stop overthinking it and stop like being in the moment and kind of like over analyzing. I feel like that's like more of a problem for me, is like thinking too much in a match. Like I just need to listen and I just need to go.
Yeah, you just have that much time. Like you don't have time to think too much. You have just like to act, right?
You guys can like hard. Hear, like you can hear everything when they're.
I mean, it's a pet
most of the time. Yeah. I mean, if you like for people that you are used to, for me, it's like I can kind of like channel his voice and try to focus just on his voice. But let's say if somebody's on top of me, like smashing my ear, I can't hear shit. Like I tell him after, I'm like, I couldn't hear you. I didn't know what you were saying. I was just trying to survive. But so it all depends on like sometimes how you're positioned on the mat, I think, depending on where your head is at, you know. If it's too loud, some tournaments are pretty loud. You can't hear
I
anything.
don't know. I think my ADD would be like, I wouldn't be able to hear anything. I would hear everything, and I wouldn't
But
be
not
able
him.
to zero in.
Yeah.
I could just see like Kyle or like Bob screaming at me, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What are
Some
you
people have
talking?
really
Like
good
Turkish? I don't know.
Like, I feel like you could hear Kyle because his voice is pretty distinct,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I was gonna ask you now actually about the your brand. Like, how did that start for you, and when did you came up with that idea of creating your own brand? Like, why did you start that?
Yeah, I think I started it in like, I'm gonna say 2022 maybe, or 2021. I can't remember. I just didn't really like a lot of the female products that were out. Like, I was kind of looking into it, and I have always been a little bit entrepreneurial. I really like business and finance. And I was looking and I was like, why are there no female brands? And why does all this gear suck? And like, why is it not fitting right? And every gi I buy just fits weird and all these little things. And I was like, yeah, there's a market here. This is something that I can kind of explore. And I wanted to learn how to do business. So it was also just like a way for me to like learn all about this through experience. I wanted to learn about design and how businesses work, how to make a website, how to work with people. So I just started it kind of for that reason, and to get women more into the business side of jiu-jitsu, because I think we should be, and we should be, leading that for each other and kind of paving the way there. So yeah, I started it back then, and I've been kind of slowly working on it. I kind of took a little bit of a break as I was finishing up my degree, and I'm planning on launching some new stuff in this next year as well. But it's been a really fun thing. It's been really fun to like connect with girls, starting to see people wearing it at tournaments. It's just been, it's been a really fun project that I kind of want to bring back and work a lot more on this next coming year now that I have more time.
That's awesome. Shae, do you
That's
have
a really
a question?
fun project. I'm launching my own brand, but it's just a really fun project. On my spare time, I just do it as a hobby.
Oh my god, I did not know everything that went into it, but I've learned so much like that I could transfer like to so many different areas of my life, that just even like learning how to build a website, take inventory, like first of all, designing is kind of a nightmare, but it's very fun. But designing clothes for women is so hard because we're so different too. And I want to make stuff that can fit everyone, but it's so difficult to do that because there's so much variability, which is awesome. But I need a million styles.
Yeah, that's what I was talking. Even last night, I was talking to another girl, and we were talking about the differences from like the women's kimonos and like the unisex kimonos. And I was like, I kind of not like the female ones. I don't know, like for my body, I don't feel that it fits really well. But I think like every single brand, and I don't know if you do this with your brand, but it's like everybody should sell separated. Like you should be able to buy just a jacket. I don't know how hard it is for them, and if it's like really costy. I don't even know if that's a word.
Yeah,
but like
I think it would be hard for ordering.
Yeah, because it's like for me, for example, I think the A0 top would be perfect, but I need A2 pants. I have really long legs. I'm really like what's the word for it? Like, I don't want to say wide.
She has a big butt.
Okay, that's what I was thinking she was going to make it nice. I was like, you got a butt.
I was trying to find a nice word for it.
Yeah. Well, okay.
You got a big dunk.
Some of that can be fixed with sizing too. Like the pants that I made, the reason that I actually really like the pants that I made is because they're all high-waisted. And they have like a string that stays tied really nice. And so they're wider, and they have more material around the butt area to like cover your butt because they're high-waisted. So you could wear more like your typical size in those. But traditionally, gi pants are so low-waisted that like if you have a butt, it's just not going to fit well.
No, or you have to get like a huge size, and then it's either too long or too baggy, too weird. And I'm like, this like nothing really looks good.
100%.
That like.
But I do want to sell stuff separately because I agree. There's certain brands that like I 100% need two different sizes in. Like and then I'm like, I don't know what you expect me to do.
Yes, exactly. we were saying that like you do a lot of those like those camps with women, like you go and teach on some of them, and we wanted to talk a little bit about it. Like I've never been to one. I think Shae also have never been to one. It's something that I really want to do. I mean, I'm lying. I went to one this year. That was just for Gracie Baja. We are with Gracie Baja, so Shae was gonna go too, but she had a freak accident and had to do surgery and couldn't come. But
okay.
she's fine now.
Just knee surgery. It's all right.
Yeah, she's gonna be fine. But I think it's awesome to have like that connection, especially if you're going to one where you can like meet people from different gyms and like different experiences. And I wanted you to talk a little bit about it, like how it is for you to come and to teach and be part of those camps.
Yeah, so cool. Like I've done seminars. I had never done before the Alchemized camp that was in San Diego this past year. I'd never done like an all women's like seminar, and it blew my mind. Like even just like past the teaching, like yeah, it was fun to like, you know, discuss with people like techniques and see what everyone's learning and kind of see everyone's background in jiu-jitsu. But just like having that many women in a room was just like crazy to me. I had never seen that, and it kind of just showed me like where we're coming up into in this sport. Because when I started, like I used to drive like an hour and a half to like go train with like this one brown belt girl. And like I was in a camp with like 200 plus like women who had like flown to San Diego to like do a 3-day camp. Like it was just nuts. Like there was so much crying and like happiness and like connection and like everyone taking pictures and games, and like the energy was just like so cool. It was amazing.
Yeah, I love that because I started from Brazil, so I started there, and at my gym there we had, I think, maybe 3 other girls that were more consistent, and I was a white belt. One of them was a purple belt at the time, and then the other one I think was a blue belt, and there were like a couple white belts that would like come and go. But we were used, I think most people that started training, I don't know, at least like 5 years ago, they didn't have the same amount of girls that we have right now in the gyms. I think it's amazing that it's growing and that we're getting to that. But it was really hard, like to train with a woman and like to really feel what you can do against somebody on your size, and to have that connection too, because I think it's a completely different, like jiu-jitsu. It's already a different connection. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. It's different from any other sport that you do, like any other area. Like it's not like your work, it's not like anything else, it's its own community. But when you have that like with other women, it's amazing. And you can see that like on those camps you don't really need to even be part of the same team. It doesn't really matter. We are part of that same, we're part of jiu-jitsu, we all love it. And you know, and that's it. Like we are going to connect through that. So I think it's amazing that they can put so many women together and do something like that big. And I think like I was trying to find a connection there, and like having your brand, and like I think there's more and more people that are coming up with things that are like woman related, like clothes for women. I mean, we started this podcast like to focus on the women's careers and the work that they do into the sport. There's a lot more of that, and I think that's just going to help to grow even more that number of women, because we know now we are part of it. Like we have space, we have a voice, and we can find ourselves in the sport too. And like seeing all the, not just the black belts, but of course them that are role models, and like I want to be like her, like I want to do what she does, I want to achieve the things that she achieved, you know, like having those people to look up to. It's great.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go, Amanda.
Oh, but I was just thinking like this is the way too that we're gonna be able to like make the progress that we want to make. Like as far as you know, we always want to get on certain cards. We want the pay to be equal. We want all these things, but like that comes from us building the community and building the women in the sport, so that like we're actually supporting each other on the way up, and like we're actually able to like show up and get those numbers that we can prove like, hey, like we're here and we're doing well and like we're in this too. So like I think it comes from us. So it's cool to see anything that's like viewing us as a community, because there's also like the flip side is where some some women are more competitive, and like there can be like a disparity between, you know, there's not as much connection, or they view each other as like competition, especially in like maybe smaller gyms or more competition oriented gyms. So I think we have to make sure that like we're all working together as a community, and we're like doing this all together and supporting each other and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's huge for sure. 100%. And I was just listening to you guys in the sense of the existing community of jiu-jitsu and bringing it up. But I would even expand it to people that aren't in jiu-jitsu. You know, I'm a big proponent of saying that I think like my dream would be that jiu-jitsu is a sport in schools that all kids have to learn, male and female, and our kids are brought up to have a certain level of self-defense in their life, especially in today's world. I think it's necessary, and most boys I think have it, you know, but I think the majority of girls don't. And it makes me sad. It does. Like I have a girl that I know through my daughter's daycare. It's an older girl. She's in high school, and she got beat down. I mean, she had a full concussion and everything. It was a full-on brawl. And the thought process of the girl, the daughter, was it's not going to happen again, right? Well, it happened once already.
Yeah.
Right? So the chances of it happening again, maybe because you said the wrong thing, you know, it's going to happen. I don't think we have enough people out there speaking to self-defense and the women community of protecting themselves, and there's a lot of people's heads in the sand, and I think that's what I struggle with the most. And I'm like super loud. I mean, from work to outside of work to talking to like the principal at daycare, like I'm just a very big proponent for it. And it does make me sad, and I wish that people would kind of like lift their eyes and saying it is necessary and you should have the skills, and you know, and everybody's capable of doing it, young and old, right? And it should be a fundamental thing that everybody learns. So
yeah, I think you said something there that is the problem. I just wanted to say that is, it's not gonna happen again. A lot of us, I talk about myself, you never think that something like this, or even worse, it's gonna happen to you. It's always like it's on the news, it's so far from you until it happens, either with you or somebody that you know. So are you gonna wait for that to happen, and then after it happened, it's over? Like there's no way for you to go back. Oh no, wait a minute, I'm gonna take some self-defense classes and then I'll go back there and redo that. No, like it's over. So you better be prepared. It's the saying, it's be prepared, not use it. It's better than not be prepared and having to use it, and then what are you gonna do? You know, so
I mean, I've been in martial arts my entire, like not my entire life, since I was 8. I've been in some type of martial arts. I mean, obviously not jiu-jitsu, and I think it's the best martial arts, but it at least gave me awareness from a very young age that anytime I've ever been in any type of confrontation that would result in maybe some type of physical like interaction, I've been able to de-escalate it because I'm observant, because I know what to do. I know how to position myself, you know what I mean? Which potentially would not have been the case if I was not taught, you know, some type of self-defense. So yeah, it's super important. Sorry. I'll get off my soapbox.
No, I love that. I'm really just like, I agree so much. Like, yes, I love it. Yeah.
I agree too. Amanda, we like to finish the podcast always asking this question to our guests. The name of the podcast, it's BJJ Hood, and that's it. And now I'm explaining a little more why BJJ Hood, because some people get it, some people don't. And it's a BJJ Hood in the sense of like the sisterhood, the brotherhood that the jiu-jitsu community brings to you. What does BJJ Hood means to you?
This community means everything to me. I think that BJJ Hood means just like the entire support of this community, and it's a very unique community as well. I think that jiu-jitsu is something that there's not that many things that I think everyone should do, and jiu-jitsu is one of those things that I think everyone should try, because of just how beneficial it's been into my own life and how much support I've gotten from it, and how like the amazing people I've met that have really just helped me grow as a person. The community is just extremely important to me. So that's what it means to me.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for taking your time talking to us today. We wish you good luck onwards.
Yes.
Next week, hopefully. This episode's going to come out on the first day of Words, actually. It's on the
Awesome.
Thursday.
I'll watch
So
it.
hopefully, we'll be watching you on the weekend. Hopefully you get a good result from that. And
Oh, wait,
hopefully...
hold on.
Oh.
What's your prediction? What, are you going to have a submission? Points.
Oh, for Guy?
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, hopefully I'm a big submission person, so hopefully I'm just gonna be able to like get on top and find cool submissions and try some of the lapel stuff that I've been working. So I'm pretty excited for that.
So is it going to be a submission by choke? Do we have a specific
choke
choke?
or armbar is where I'm going for.
All right.
Look at Shae. She wants to get everything out of you right now.
I didn't say one type of choke. I just said in general.
Yeah, don't give up too much. Thank you so much, Amanda. I hope we can see. We live in San Diego area too, so hopefully we're gonna see you around at some point.
Of course, awesome.
Okay, for you that it's, of course, you that are watching this episode, make sure you share with a friend that can learn something from us today, from what we talked about here today. If you don't follow us yet, just go to BJJ Hood Podcast. We're on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And on YouTube, we have subtitles in Portuguese. So if you have a friend that doesn't speak English but wanted to watch and understand us, they can just go straight to YouTube. Make sure you also follow us on your favorite platform for podcasts so you don't miss any of the episodes that come out every Thursday. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks for listening. Would you like to share your story? Email us at bjjhoodpodcast@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at bjjhoodpodcast.